Welcome to HOA Reality 365, where neighborhood rules create unbelievable battles. She thought she could charge her Tesla using my solar power for free, until my safety system exposed exactly what she had been doing. When I moved into this neighborhood, I thought I was buying a peaceful home.
I didn't know the HOA board had already found a way to make my life miserable.
When I moved into the neighborhood, I thought the hardest part would be getting used to the HOA rules. I was wrong. The real problem was Victoria Hayes. Everyone called her Karen, behind her back. She had been on the HOA board for almost 6 years and apparently believed that position came with unlimited authority. My first month there, she complained about the height of my mailbox. The second month, she sent me an email about my trash cans being visible from the street. I ignored most of it. Then one Saturday morning, I noticed a white Tesla parked beside my driveway. At first, I assumed it belonged to a visitor. Then I saw the charging cable. It wasn't connected to a public charger. It wasn't connected to Karen's house. It was connected to equipment on my property. I walked outside. Karen was standing beside the Tesla, holding her phone. "Morning," she said casually. I looked at the charging cable. Then I looked at her. "Is that connected to my solar system?" She smiled. "Yes." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Apparently, she had discovered that my solar panels produce more electricity than my house normally consumed during the afternoon. Instead of asking me for permission, she had decided to use that extra power to charge her Tesla. I told her she needed to unplug immediately. Her expression changed. "Jack, this neighborhood has community standards. This isn't a community charger." She rolled her eyes. "You're generating excess electricity anyway. That doesn't mean you can take it." She stepped closer. "I'm on the HOA board." That was when I realized exactly what kind of problem I was dealing with. She wasn't asking. She believed she was entitled to my electricity because she thought the HOA could make me accept it. So I told her one simple thing: disconnect the cable. Karen laughed. Then she said something that made me realize this wasn't going to end that day. "You'll regret making this difficult." She unplugged the car. But before leaving, she took a picture of my solar equipment. I watched her drive away. And for the first time, I wondered what she planned to do next. The next morning, I received an email from the HOA. It accused me of violating the neighborhood's shared energy expectations. I read it twice. There was no shared energy program. There was no agreement. And there was certainly no rule giving the HOA permission to use my private solar equipment. I called the HOA management company. They confirmed what I already knew. Karen had written the complaint herself. That wasn't enough for her. Over the next week, she tried everything. First, she demanded that I install an approved charging station on my property. Then she claimed my solar panels were changing the appearance of the neighborhood. Finally, she told me the HOA expected me to provide charging access for residents. I refused every request. Then one evening I came home and saw her Tesla parked outside my house again. The charging cable was connected. I immediately shut down the unauthorized connection through the proper safety controls and called the HOA management company. Karen came running outside. "You can't do that." I pointed toward the equipment. "You don't have permission to use it." She started yelling. "You're wasting renewable energy." I told her she had no right to connect anything to my property. She pulled out her phone. "I'm documenting your refusal." "Go ahead." Then something unexpected happened. The system detected the unauthorized load and triggered its built-in protection. The charging connection stopped. Karen stared at the equipment. Her confidence disappeared. "What did you do?" "Nothing dangerous. The safety system did exactly what was designed to do." She didn't like that answer. She demanded I restore the connection. I refused. Then she made her biggest mistake. She told me she had already contacted an HOA attorney. I smiled because I had been waiting for her to do exactly that. I had saved every email, every photograph, every message, and every time she had attempted to use my property without permission. But there was one thing Karen didn't know. My solar system had its own monitoring records, and those records showed exactly when the unauthorized equipment had been connected. I downloaded everything. Then I sent the records to the HOA management company. The next morning I received an email. The subject line contained only 5 words. Emergency board meeting scheduled. Karen had finally pushed the wrong homeowner. The emergency meeting was supposed to be about me. At least that's what Karen told everyone. She arrived with a folder full of complaints. She accused me of refusing to cooperate with the community. She claimed my solar system was creating an unfair advantage. She even suggested that my property should be inspected. Then the HOA president asked me to speak. I connected my tablet to the screen. The first document showed my property records. The second showed the solar installation agreement. The third showed the HOA rules. And then I displayed the monitoring records. The room became completely silent. The records showed repeated unauthorized charging attempts. Dates, times, duration, system alerts, everything. Karen suddenly stopped talking. The HOA president looked at her. Did you authorize these connections? Karen hesitated. I was only using excess energy. That wasn't the question. She looked toward me. You manipulated the system. I shook my head. No. I showed the safety logs. The system automatically detected an abnormal connection and protected the equipment. One board member leaned forward. So you connected your Tesla to his private system without permission? Karen had no answer. Then the HOA manager opened another document. It was the original HOA declaration. There was nothing in it giving the board ownership or access to private residential solar systems. Karen had spent weeks threatening me over something she had absolutely no authority to control. The board voted. Karen was ordered to stop using my property immediately. The unauthorized equipment had to be removed, and the board formally warned her that any further attempt to access my private electrical equipment could result in legal action. But the biggest surprise came afterward. The HOA president privately apologized. He told me Karen had been using her position to pressure several homeowners into giving her access to private resources. My case wasn't the first. It was simply the first homeowner who had kept enough evidence to prove it. A few weeks later, Karen resigned from the board. Her Tesla never appeared in my driveway again, and I installed a proper security barrier around my equipment. Not because I was afraid of Karen, because I had learned something important. An HOA can make rules. It cannot magically turn your private property into community property. And Karen learned that lesson the expensive way. As for me, I kept my solar system. I kept my house. And most importantly, I kept my peace.
Karen thought HOA power meant she could control my property. She was wrong. Subscribe to HOA Reality 365 and tell me where you're watching from.